So Apple just released a couple of new products. It was two new iPads, Mac Studio, and a M4 MacBook Air. So here are my thoughts on these. This is not a review, but also because I think some of these products are weird, and some of them are actually, I was pleasantly surprised by them. Okay, so let's start off with the iPad 11. So we all thought this was going to get an A17 Pro chip or an A18 or something like that, and it was going to have Apple Intelligence features just like every other Apple product that's come out in the last 6 months at least has had. But it didn't. It got an A16 chip. So now I'm confused because I thought that the iPad mini and the normal baseline iPad were supposed to be basically the same tablet, just one was smaller, one was bigger. But the iPad mini has Apple Intelligence and it has an A17 Pro, while the new iPad 11 has an A16 chip and doesn't have Apple Intelligence. Now, I don't think Apple Intelligence was particularly great in any way. I think there were some good parts to it, some pretty bad parts, and then overall it was kind of lackluster. But why not just give it Apple Intelligence for those who want to have it? Now, I'm not saying that the A16 chip by any means is a bad chip. It's pretty powerful. The iPhone 15 has it and the iPhone 14 Pro. It's a good chip. It's pretty powerful. But I don't understand why they didn't just put the A17 Pro in there. So it's kind of a weird product. I mean, unless I get to test it, I won't be able to come out with a final verdict. But just as of what I've seen off their website, it's kind of weird. So now let's talk about the new iPad Air. So this one, I was confused on why they released it now, because the last iPad Air with the M2 came out less than a year ago. It came out May 2024. So that one is less than a year old, and they're already releasing the M3 iPad Air. So this one, I think it's going to be the one not to buy. Now, I can't say that for sure until I get to test it out, but here's the thing with iPads, is they're constantly upgrading their power from an M1 to an M2 to an M3, and these are computer chips. But there's nothing to do on those. There's no Adobe Premiere Pro. There's no Adobe Photoshop. You have Final Cut Pro, obviously, because, it's an Apple app. But there's no other editing software. There's no other photo editing software. It's restricted by iPadOS. So they keep giving it more power, but they can't give it more things to do with that power because they also have to protect their Mac lineup. So while it is crazy that a device this size, this is not the new iPad Air, by the way, but they're the same size, that a device this size has the same power as a device this size, I mean, it's insane, right? Just look at the size difference, right? But the capabilities aren't there. So that's why I think iPads are kind of in this stalemate where they can be really great because you could be able to switch from this big Mac to this smaller size tablet and be able to do the exact same things. Apple just won't allow you to. So I'm finding kind of annoying, and that's why I think we're going to have kind of a stalemate and a rivalry between Macs and iPads, where people want Apple to give all the Mac capabilities and even maybe Mac OS to an iPad this size. They just won't give it to it because they have to protect their Mac lineup. So this one, I'm also not very optimistic about, but of course I can't say anything final before I actually get to test it. Okay, but now, price cuts and Apple. Things that two words you don't really hear together, right? And I will admit that I also didn't believe it when I first heard it, but the M4 MacBook Air actually starts at $100 less than the M3 MacBook Air did when it launched. Now, of course, if you want to upgrade storage options or upgrade RAM, the price is going to start racking up. But that was the same thing with the M3 MacBook Air. And this one is even more powerful and more capable. So here's what I'm thinking from just looking at the website and looking at the specs. There's nothing new with that Mac. It's just a new chip, one new color. That's it. But here's why I think that this is going to be a really good deal for a Mac. So I think that if someone is going to want to switch from Windows to Mac, or if someone wants to upgrade from an Intel MacBook, or if someone already has an M1 MacBook Air and wants to upgrade to a newer one, I think this one's going to be a great deal because I mean, it has a price cut. So, and that's pretty rare for Apple, and it's a very powerful Mac. Like, Macs are known to be powerful, M chips are very powerful. Now, obviously, if you have an M2 or an M3, or even for most people an M1, you won't need to upgrade because those chips are still doing fine for at least a couple years down the road. I think this is a great deal for the certain people who want to switch to a Mac or upgrade to a Mac. Because, again, it's a price cut, it's a very powerful chipset. But just to let you know also, unless you're going to be using all the M4 power, which most people aren't, most people who buy MacBook Airs aren't going to need all that power, maybe, honestly, they might want to get the M3 MacBook Air for even lower, or even maybe an M2. But I'm just saying, if those of you who want to use all that power, this might be a really good deal because of that price cut. Okay, so now let's talk about the new Mac Studio. So the new Mac Studio comes with either an M4 Max chip or an M3 Ultra. And these are super powerful computers. But obviously, the more things get powerful, the less people are going to need to buy them. So for an editor, I think that these look pretty good, right? Because, I mean, your exports will be faster. Everything will be faster. But, for most people, I don't think they need the insane power of an M4 Max or an M3 Ultra. It does start at the same price. And then, if you want to upgrade to higher specs, then the price is going to start racking up pretty quickly. I don't think as many people should buy it, though, because of how much power it has. And as I said before, the more power something has, the less people are going to need that insane power, and they can just go for the last generations. So that's what I think is going to be the occurrence with this one. Not as many people need the M3 Ultra and the M4 Max, so maybe they just go with the last generation Mac Studio. But for those who do need an M3 Ultra or an M4 Max, then I think that this is honestly going to be pretty helpful. For those that this is going to be useful for, I think it's going to be great, but again, I don't think it's going to be for most people. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Leave your thoughts on these new products in the comments, and see you guys in the next video.